Meeting of the Committee of the Whole will come.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item D2, deliberating the repair or replacement of the Public Works facility currently located at 6300 West McGeo Avenue.
Okay.
Dave Wepking, our Director of Public Works.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this PowerPoint slide is to review some of the background, where we were back in 2017 and where we progressed through various consulting services and how they outline certain repair issues, needs, and also documenting various efficiencies or deficiencies throughout the facility. This PowerPoint is approximately 45 slides. I will not be going through each and every slide, but my purpose is staff working with communications, IT, Andy Hetzer as well, trying to make excerpts of these videos to kind of show you some of the inefficiencies that we have at the yard. So
It's going to be posted for the public to see, so they can peruse it.
the municipal yard was, you can see there, it's at about 7.5 acre parcel. It's been there since 1940-ish. There's various buildings there that you can see that the main garage, item number 1, is used for mostly the heated garage area for parking of vehicles, city vehicles, and all operations and administrative staff. Number 2 is the north garage area. That's just used for cold storage. There's an alley separating the main garage as well as that annex there. So there are operations performed there, such as welding, fabricating, but mostly it is cold storage for materials that we use. Item number 3 is the salt dome, about 8,000 square feet for about 5,000 tons that we store per year. Item number 4 is our drop-off shed that we have. It's about 200 square feet, but again, take notice that we have patrons that are using that area within the garage facility or public works yard area. Item number 5 is called the Anka Building. I believe it was purchased by the city, or it was constructed in the early 1930s, and it's right now primarily used for cold storage for our various divisions, inventory, as well as our street division. Other areas of that we use for satellite locations for storage or processing of our materials is the Morgan Drop-Off site on 116th and Morgan. There's about 15 acres that we have there. They provide a variety of processing of yard waste, brush. We do haul spoils there anytime we have a main break. These spoils are stored there. The windstorm, all the logs are stored there as well in area number D. But the main focus is here that we had to construct a storage shed, and that's box C in the yellow there, to add more storage. So we have inventory items being stored in that location, thus going between the main municipal yard and to this location to pick up materials or inventory items. And you can see there's various other uses for the area for equipment storage, snow. We have the reservoir and transfer station. The reservoir that's located near 96 and Mitchell, that helps pump the water to the west side of the city. There, the primary concern or notation I want you to take is there's a storage shed right adjacent to that. Most, if not all, of the water division's equipment, hydrants are stored there in that area. Again, that's off-site, it's a satellite inventory location. The transfer station near 50th and Rogers, that's just that. It's where we collect refuse day-to-day basis. We have 5 crews and we dump. That refuse is at this location, and our contractor then transfer and hauls it to a site where it can be dumped and landfilled. There's a lot of responsibilities that we have with the Department of Public Works, with our water division, forestry, electrical, fleet, sanitation and street, and so on. So back in December 2017, the Common Council at that time directed staff to review the replacement of a city yards facility. There they indicated that they wanted us to identify current repair or replacement of a facility. What are the requirements of a new facility that can meet our needs? What are other comparable facilities that have gone through construction and have been completed? What other options for replacement that we can consider in the future? Approximate cost estimates for their projects, as well as a projected timeline for completion. McKinstry Consulting was hired back in 2018, and they were asked to project a repair replacement capital expense for a 30-year timeline. And there it indicates the amounts for each facility. City Hall and Municipal Yard were rated at about $12 million for replacement costs. McKinstry also outlined and identified deficiencies through the operations of the municipal yard, given the travel time could be processes going from one location to the next, moving parked vehicles in order to get to a certain location, repair bays, again, switching vehicles, going to the various inventory satellite areas throughout the city, and they came out with our approximate potential savings of $600,000 per year. And some of those efficiencies are listed there. This is an overhead picture of the McGill site, and please note the amount of parked vehicles that are stored outside the municipal yard main facility. So the main facility has about 110 parking stalls. And within this area, we do keep heated material that is required to be heated, so it does take up some parking spots. But we do have quite a few refuse and recycling vehicles that are sitting out in the elements. They're approximately $280,000 to $300,000 for each, so you're looking at roughly over $3 million. Then we have various plow blades that are obviously used in the wintertime that are stored out in elements. We have vehicles here that are spares for our provisional and seasonal staff, and then we have forestry vehicles as well. There is the flow concerns, which we'll get into a little bit later, where entry for the city employees as well is mixed with the public for the drop-off, as well as exiting the vehicle as well. You have very narrow pathways to go to and from and around different locations and areas, as well as this alley here is usually one way and usually one vehicle due to how narrow it is. So Barrientos Engineering was contracted back in June of 19th, and they too evaluated the city's municipal yard facility as well as our processes. And they came out with 9 recommendations of areas that we should be looking at to improve the existing facility. And if I may, I'll just play this video, compliments to our communications department.
In 2018, McKinstry Consulting and the Barrientos Design and Consulting reviewed the operations to identify any deficiencies at the assigned equipment, stock, and workstations. B. Clear circulation paths for equipment and workflow. C. Adequate access to equipment and stock indoors. D. Control and security in inventory stock. E. Environmental health of the interior due to lack of adequate airflow. Security from theft and personal attacks within facility. Separation of public and vendor interaction from staff. H. Supervisional lines of sight and communication ability. I. Supported crew facilities and gender balance. In December. In 2018.
Oops.
So the yard functions, what they came up as recommendations, some of the deficiencies are listed there. They indicated in the middle of the municipal yard is where we have our fueling islands. We only have 2 of those, given the fleet that we provide service to, as well as with other city departments and other agencies. So by having that fuel island at that location, it causes a lot of traffic flow issues, especially in the morning and at the end of the shift. We do have various vendor trucks or deliveries that are being made, and the traffic flow is congested and caused by these deliveries that are on the other side of the facility. From time to time, we do have private vehicles from the public that are entering into the municipal yard area for assistance, or they're just not aware, where the drop-off area and the appropriate service area. And the concern of security around the fenced-in area. We did have some thefts there recently, but the increased security with the fencing around, but also around the area of the employee parking lot. Here's just a sample of a semi that's attempting to deliver some refuse carts down at the Yonka area, which is in the south side of our property or parcel. And they have to kind of work their way around in very tight turns. These are some examples of just somewhat confusion for the public, but also delivery personnel, that you are mixing the city employee services along with the patrons and the public, exiting out the gate closest to the Beloit Road. You have various blind spots when individuals are walking on the sidewalk, as well as when you're exiting near the Burnham Street exit. Here are some examples too, just very quick videos. I think the video shows it best rather than explaining. So this is the main area by the fuel islands. So the point being, if you have a single axle, tandem, or a large vehicle, we only have certain flow directions, and if they want to exit the yard, they'll have to turn around in this area. Again, vehicles fueling up. And again, as I mentioned, other departments use the fuel islands for service and for their fuel. Oops. So fleet vehicle parking, like the reports have indicated, we just don't have enough parking stalls, whether it be heated or cold storage, just so we have equipment under a roof from the elements so they can last longer. In the wintertime, we do have various vehicles parked outside, usually refuse packers, small light trucks. Those are applicable. We do have them plugged into a heat block so we can readily use them and start them up. However, it does take time to remove the snow and get them operational. Snow plowing, for some of you that did look at our facility during a snow operation, it would be nice to have a quicker service where we can distribute and have these vehicles go out on the street, but we don't have the room to have the plow blades attached to these vehicles. So various employees with numerous trucks will have to locate their plows for each vehicle that they use. From time to time, we do use the aisleway within the garage area, and we pack those driving lanes or those areas within the garage area, so the next morning or during the snow operation, we have all the vehicles up and running and they're warmed up. So tailgating, this operation is whenever you have a tandem or single dump truck, we have a attachment that we want to put on a tailgate for the dump truck. This is occurring on the inside of our facility. It's at a special location, and I'll show a quick video indicating that it does cause traffic to slow down or congested, but as well, we have support beams within the structure of the garage where at times when you're raising the truck body or the dump truck, it'll damage that support beam. And lastly is having adequate wash bay for our vehicles. We have a manual wash bay, and it does not provide underbody cleaning capability. The big concern is the turning radius from entering into this wash bay from our alley area into the wash bay itself and then exiting inside the garage area. So the longer the vehicle, the more concerns and the capability is going to be restricted based on the turning restrictions. So here is just an overview of where all the vehicles are stored, and usually these are out for the full year. They're seasonal equipment or various trucks that we use for each division. But you can see that, again, for the value of the assets, they are being stored outside in elements. Here's some examples of vehicles, plow blades, containers that over the years being stored outside, and you can see what the elements have done to those type of vehicles or equipment.
But they have the new city logo on them, which is nice. Really, seriously, I'm glad that it is new, the new one.
This is an interesting video, very quick video. So inside the garage area, we provide fleet maintenance and then lubrication area for preventative maintenance. When you go down the aisle within the municipal yard garage, you have to make a 90-degree turn and get into this lube rack. So props to the operators, because I would have gray hair. So this is our technician Mike. And if you could, here's usually vehicles that are stored. At certain times, you may have individuals that are from electrical that store their vehicles. If someone is not using that vehicle, Mike would have to go and find the keys, go in electrical. Can I move truck 45? Are you using it? And he'll probably have to move 1, 2, or 3 vehicles or 4 in order to make that swing into that preventative maintenance lube area. So now we are switching off to, it was recommended to improve our wash rack or our capability of prolonging the life of the equipment or fleet. This is, if you can picture, in our alley. It's one way. And to enter into our wash rack, again, it's a 90-degree turn to go and enter. There was recommendations, hey, can we do other departments' vehicles? It'd be nice, but given the length of those vehicles, I don't think they would be able to make the turn inside and to enter and exit. And these vehicles will briefly show that.
Ooh.
So the individual made the turn, but he's got to add a little space to it. Now he's got to watch
Ooh. Yeah, that's right.
the aisle that's so narrow. Mr. Hintzman, very good operator as well. And if I may, so if Mr. Hintzman made this turn and then he was exiting the wash rack into our garage to exit. And if you notice the open spaces there, if not, then he would have to move those parked vehicles or have someone move them. Oops, sorry, apologize. Here is where I kind of reference that tailgate section. So when you have a spreader that's in a dump body, you want to remove the spreader, and then you want to put a tailgate on there because you want to haul spoils. So in this section, this is inside the garage. When vehicles want to exit the garage, they're going to have to go down this aisle, okay? And there's a designated area, as I mentioned before, that they have to position themselves to hook up the gate or attach the gate to. So vehicles are going around this parked tandem. If there's vehicles are parked here, that would preclude them from doing such. Now, if you notice, here's that beam that has been hit maybe 1 or 2 times. Knock on wood. But then here's the tailgates that they have with the overhead crane. Now, there are vehicles that are trying to exit and will exit, but at times they're delayed just due to the workflow. So fleet services, inefficiencies, what they mentioned there is just repair bays. We need larger repair bays. They're too narrow. When you have repair bays, let's say you're waiting for a part, it could be 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and if you're taking a transmission out, you cannot move that vehicle, so you're kind of stuck with that bay being full. And given where it logistically, where it's positioned, it doesn't help you, so you can move additional vehicles in there to be serviced. So that's the gist of the recommendations on this slide, where they're trying to access other repair bays, try to provide more bays for the mechanics so they don't have just one bay, that they can work on one vehicle and then have a vehicle drive in and exit freely. Here's some areas here of the fleet services within the municipal yard. This is the main garage service area where we have 8 bays. We have 2 garage doors, so we have to do some turning in order to get into the 4 bays on each side. Here is at a different location within the municipal yard, so it's not in close proximity of the fleet division. This is a small engine repair shop. This is for any lawnmowers, riders, any type of small engine snow blowers. Here's the tire repair shop. This is where we have more inventory of tires that you can see here. This is across the other side of the municipal yard garage. So Mike that you've seen that was in the lube rack would have to go potentially maybe to the small engine shop, walk to the tire shop, get his tires, or position the vehicle at that location. At times, the repair bays are full. You can see there's approximately 6 vehicles that are being stored here, and the mechanics now are servicing a vehicle here in the alley because the bays are full. And this will happen most likely in the spring, summertime, fall. It does happen from time to time in the wintertime. Also, due to the cold weather, we may have these vehicles come into the garage area and position themselves, but it still restricts the traffic flow within the facility. Inventory, what we're looking at is we have 4 different locations of various inventory throughout the Public Works facility or facilities, given our satellite locations. It's recommended that we try to get all our inventory into one area to provide security, more accountability of materials. I mean, if an employee is taking something out, sometimes they forget. Sometimes they forget to report certain items. So we like to have more accountability for those items. Here is in that alley area, again, next to Fleet Services. This is where we receive shipments within the municipal yard. So if there's a semi truck or any type of service delivery, this is where they come to. It's recommended that we have a designated area that has some type of docking, potentially to load and store that material next to the inventory division where it can be secured. This is where the individuals from other services that are dropping off deliveries come to report that they're there. Here's inside the inventory division. Notice that there's maximum height of about 12 feet and narrow aisles. This is our fluid storage for hydraulic, antifreeze, so on and so forth. And this is within this area as well. And it's recommended to have containment for spills, that sort of thing. So that was an issue that they reported or identified. Building and sign, they provide a lot of services. We used to have a spray booth, but that spray booth now, because when the facility was constructed back in mid-1940s, the vehicles were smaller at that time. Now, you know, they're wider, they're bigger, they're taller. So the spray booth is just not, we just don't use it because we can't get vehicles inside of that. So what we have is we have a small spray booth inside our building and sign shop that can, you know, do temporary painting for signs, but also small fleet equipment parts. This is our sign installation area. So if we have any type of regulatory signs or other signs requests, this is where they make that. They kind of mentioned that the concern here was ventilation, adequate ventilation for the employees. Electrical, the big thing here is inventory. A lot of our inventory is stored at Morgan drop-off site. So any knockdowns or reused or pre-used equipment, we have to go from point A, whatever that accident site is, and go to the Morgan drop-off site, pick it up, collect it, and then go to the municipal yard, and we may have to rewire it. When we rewire it, it does take up room, and sometimes it is in the parking areas within the garage, municipal yard garage. Wire materials that we use, again, trying to have that storage centralized into an inventory area. And this is their area here. This is where they have workbenches. This is where they report, where they may have break or lunch. And this is a small area that they put their street light poles on to do the rewiring. Street and sewer, they have the most vehicles within the department. For example, the snow plows that you've seen there that were rusted or in the elements, they're approximately $12,000 to $14,000 each. So we like to get those inside, undercover in cold storage. The refuse trucks are parked on the opposite side of the garage. So when they are inside, crews have to walk, and again, they're trying to back the vehicle out that there's other vehicles that prohibit or it's restrictive. We do not, this is the only division that does not have a work area. The work area is basically either outside or in our wash rack. So when they're cutting precast manhole, sanitary manholes, what they do is transport that from the Yonka area and put it into their wash rack. Then that way the dust and everything can be addressed there, I guess. Okay. Here's the wash bay. Again, this is vehicles that are for snowplow operation. We took this. We like to cram all the vehicles in certain areas within the garage that we can store. So that's a good example of that. Here is a vehicle that is trying to get out for the morning refuse collection. So given this video, you are limited on what you can store on the opposite side of these large lengthy vehicles. Oops. Forestry, we have vehicles stored inside and outside. A lot of their materials, trees, trees that they order is stored right there on the ground at McGee Avenue. Restricts the storage of vehicles, but also the traffic flow as well. We had a semi that went in towards the north side of the facility, and they had to unload trees. So they had to take a fork truck, a lot of crew members, and it was just kind of a delay for that period of time. And these are indicating identification of materials that are stored in their area. This is asphalt and cold patch, so that has to be undercover. So inside a municipal yard, we have parking spaces that are taken up due to this type of material that has, can't be stored outside. This is just a small engine area where we have lawnmowers and chainsaws stored in this area. That's right next to their break or lunch area. Water, they too have a lot of items that they store off-site. We mentioned that at the reservoir pumping station area with that storage shed. They do have an entry point where a lot of customers and potential public concerns are addressed at their division. Mistakenly, they think that's the main office area. So that area is not ADA compliant, or is it restrictive for the public? So once they get in, I'm not saying, they can go into the facility as a whole. This just shows within that reservoir storage shed, we do have multiple vehicles being stored there. These are various hydrant components, and then this is within the municipal yard divisional storage area of the water division. So support areas, and this is consistent throughout the whole department, is there's actually not enough lockers for the employees. They're not wide enough to accommodate the city clothing, rain gear, boots, also personal clothing that would separate that within the locker. So they're very narrow. There's no private changing areas. If they want to change some type of item, clothing, they'll have to go to a restroom. Office areas are routinely, if you work in there, it's contaminated with soot, dust. There is no emergency showers. So if you're working with any type of chemical or caustic items, the facility should have immediate emergency shower that they can drench themselves to remove that type of material on their body. Provisions for women bathrooms are very, very limited within the current facility. Assembly areas between supervisors and staff. So sanitation street, they have a hallway where all the lockers are. That's where they go out and they discuss future work items within that day or prior to that shift. Break areas, all break areas within each divisions are within that work area. So whatever you're doing, you still have your lunchbox within that area. Training sessions to accommodate the entire division, we can't do that. Usually it's at the very most 20 people at a time in our conference area. Security has always been an issue for the facility as a whole. Trying to limit the public access to the main office area and then having individuals meet that contractor or that vendor. So we're trying to restrict access. Here's Sanitation and Street. Here's their hallway where they meet and they give out orders. These are the lockers that were provided back in the mid-1940s. This is, kind of like the condition of these. Here, this is in our lunchroom in Sanitation Street. We are provided with the best technology, thanks to you folks, IT. iPads are being used more and more, and this is where they store them. But again, it's one area, outlets is needed, more room. Here's the restroom near Sanitation Street. This is vintage mid-1940s. But again, you can kind of notice the poor condition of these facilities. Administration, we're just looking for a lobby that's secured and that's somewhat restrictive. Any individual can enter, and once they enter, they can go throughout the garage. If you look at the municipal yard, if you've been there, the garage doors are up. Anybody can, it's the access is fairly easy to enter. So we like to have a designated area that we can meet those patrons or customers. Here's the main area for parking. It's not really identified. We do have a sign here of all customers, vendors to report to the main office, but the parking area is limited and the space is limited. So if you were to drive in there, I think all of us are kind of like, can I park here or can I? Sometimes you'll park up by the Salt Dome. In the meantime, you're still crossing traffic with the city department vehicles. Here it's a very nice computer lab. The only concern here is we love to have more. So we can have, instead of 15 employees, we could have more employees being trained at once. Strategic goals, how does this improve and relate to our strategic goals? You want to be the preferred municipality in the area. You want to improve the quality of life, aesthetically pleasing. You want to take pride in ownership of a facility, ensure fiscal vitality and excellence in government, improving on those deficiencies and making them efficiencies. Resources and feedback, John Matty, our communications department director, he indicated that he will launch various web pages that's identifying various videos of our operations, including a frequently asked question document that will be attached, various facility reports that were performed by Barrientos Consulting or Engineering and McKinstry Consulting, as well as a public input feedback form that is accessible for the public, and they can return that to the city. As a reminder, this Saturday, we're having our first open house event for the facility from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The drop-off site will be closed. However, we're hoping that a lot of patrons with their children will be interested to see some trucks, see the inside of the garage area. And I know there's a lot of employees there that are, they want to talk about what they do. And if they have questions, they want to meet, potentially a plow truck driver and ask questions, this is the time to do so. So, other than that, Kale?
Sure. Let's grab that. So the reason I'm here and why I'm talking is you heard from Dave, identifying the deficiencies of the current facility, the issue with having split sites around the city and constantly going back and forth. So my role here is to show you that there is an opportunity to address those deficiencies. And I would argue it's going to meet those same strategic goals that you just saw a second ago. So the big thing I'm going to tell you now is that the suggestions made by McKinstry as well as Barrientos focused on this particular site and what the city could do about it. Correcting those deficiencies based on what Barrientos has told us cannot be done on the current facility. So that parcel at 7.6 acres with a remote parking for employees across the street is not sufficient size to get all this done. So initially, McKinstry's suggestions for efficiencies resulted in that $600,000 annual savings. What they were assuming was that you could take the existing site and rebuild and put everything that's spread out around the city onto one site. And that's where you get the $600,000 in savings. Based on the Barrientos study, we know that cannot be done. It has to be at a larger site. And so that $600,000 of savings, I think you can assume is the bare minimum savings by just simply building a new facility on a properly sized site. If you do move to a new site, I did my own rough calculations on it, which by no means this is a lawyer doing math, so bear with me. But basically, what I calculated is that the McKinstry computation of $600,000 is approximately a 7% increase in efficiency. What I've got here, just based on what Barrientos presented, is about a 17% increase in efficiency if you go to a new site that is approximately 20 acres and laid out appropriately, because the computation for 7% assumes that the current site is going to have some sort of traffic lanes and have proper cold storage. And unless you're building up, that's not going to happen. And building up is, of course, very expensive. And it might not be possible to do that in this case because you're going to have dump trucks on the second floor. And I don't know how that works in a building that needs a 16-foot ceiling. So we really need to find a parcel that's of sufficient size. I feel like I click the right link. But what I'm going to show you is a proposal that would essentially take care of this. I don't know why I can't find it here. I usually have it linked.
What map are you looking for, Ken?
This one right here. This is my ticket. All right. So on the eastern side of the city, near the area of 53rd and Rogers, there are currently 2 parcels that I think would be very helpful for what we're trying to do here. If you look at this location, there's a single parcel here. This is the transfer station you saw in the presentation before, and this is another facility over here. This is owned by the county currently and under contract with a developer, but it is otherwise a vacant parcel. It's just open grass right now. Former Teledyne site. This is a property owned by a property developer named Coakley. It's again another larger site. If you combine these 2 parcels with the transfer station and you vacate Rogers Street from here over, the Barrientos folks have said that that is a proper layout and sized parcel for what the city is trying to do to maximize efficiency over the current facility. It involves 2 property owners essentially because the city already owns this parcel. And so what I think the best thing the city could do, and this is my advice to the council, although we're at a discussion point right now, the advice would be to try to voluntarily see if we could acquire these 2 parcels and then get going on designing a new facility for those parcels. The $600,000 McKinstry estimate compared to my estimate, they have $600,000 a year. I actually computed at about $1.3 million a year in operational efficiency. So that's a 7 to 17% window. A new building is designed right now to last about 80 years of useful life. With proper maintenance, I'm sure it could go longer, but that's the useful life computation that most people are using. And if you stretch those annual savings out over 80 years, you have McKinstry's estimate, again, the bare minimum, at a little over $46 million of today's value money. It actually would be a lot more money over time through inflation, but in today's dollars, $46 million, compared to my estimate, which is actually $108 million in savings of operational cost, or at least the value you get. The way I'm computing that value is we have 109 full-time equivalent employees in DPW right now outside of water. Those 109 employee positions could do the work of 125 employees as long as the efficiencies are captured. Even McKinstry would add on 10 positions as opposed to the 18 I added on. So no matter what, you're going to get more efficiency at this location. And when you really look at over 80 years, that's where the value comes in. A new building would be expensive. Right now, the latest estimates are very rough because the actual design is going to be very dependent on what the cost is. But the rough estimates are between about $40 to $50 million for acquisition of land, architecture, engineering, and construction, and everything like that. That would be an upfront cost the city would bond for. So it wouldn't be up that much money right now. It would be bonded over, I think, 20 years is what we're looking at, if I'm not mistaken. So over a 20-year bonding period, but the current value, that 50 million, if it's the high end, still is completely dwarfed by the concept of saving $108 million. There's also that $12 million in capital costs and repair that you saw earlier. Building a new facility avoids that $12 million in future costs. In fact, you have something on the agenda later tonight on the council meeting for $65,000 for a roof. So that's the beginning. So this is a possible solution that I think would be a financially smart long-term investment. In the short term, it's not easy. We're coming out of a pandemic, and we're essentially asking folks to spend a little more money to buy a facility for the city right now. It's not easy to do, and no one wants to do that. But most financial decisions are not easy, and this is one where if you want the long-term viability of the city to do well, you've got great public works employees who are managing what they can with the facility they have, and they're doing a nice job. You saw those videos, some impressive work. But the longer we ask employees to do that, the more that inefficiency is going to keep piling on top of the city and costing the taxpayers more money. More likely we're going to have damaged trucks, damaged facilities from accidents. The more likely it is that employees are going to be frustrated having to constantly deal with this, and it will wear them down as well. You want your employees to feel confident in the equipment and the facilities they use because it makes them more productive. It helps for recruiting, it helps for retention. There's all kinds of great reasons. So the downside here is the cost, the upfront cost. And I think that's the only downside, frankly. There are a lot of upsides, not only in the near future, but as time goes on, if you build a new facility, there are some really strong upsides financially for the city because of the efficiencies that you gain. And so I guess that is the limit of what I've got to say on it right now for the discussion purposes. Happy to talk about any questions or answer any questions you might have or talk about anything you want. But I just can't overstate the importance of adding what seems like fractional or incremental advantages each year over 80 years. That adds up to be a big number. So I really hope that the council will consider this as an option because it's going to be a good way for DPW to move forward into the next century.
Are there any comments or questions on either one of the presentations?
I have a comment.
Alderwoman Grisham?
I would just like to say, seeing this presentation, by the way, thank you. It was well thought out. It's kind of shocking that you've been on life support as long as you have with this facility, and that's the only way I can kind of describe that. And once our constituents see that, I don't doubt that they would say, hey, we need to do something about this. These inefficiencies, just the amount of time you have to take to get these vehicles out. We toured the facility, Dana and I did, and I was shocked. You know, I'm impressed with the work that you do with your department, the minimal complaints that we get, you know, with snow removal and whatnot. You've done an outstanding job, but I would definitely say that I see the support for this to happen.
Thank you. Yeah. And we have great staff, so.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Vitale?
yeah, Cale, where we at with the questions of acquiring the Burnham site, you know, I understand there was somebody else interest before for the county, so where we at with this? I mean, is something really, it's some concrete proposal that we'd be able to acquire that site, or still is not sure? I mean, the way things stand right now.
Sure. So prior to tonight, the city did have an individual who's assisting the city in testing the market for various parcels and exploring options. These are two properties that have been approached by that person, by our agent. And so we would just try to continue those discussions and seeing if there's a way that the city could just simply voluntarily come to a purchase agreement with the two owners. That's one of the advantages of this site, is that there's only two owners involved, as opposed to other ones we looked at where there were maybe 4 or more people involved. It's difficult to put together an assemblage, but we think now that it's narrowed down to this site as being the ideal location, given everything else in the city and the options that were out there, that we would be able to come to a voluntary agreement with them where they would be willing to sell it for a fair and reasonable price.
Yeah, my really concern with the present, what I call present owner, you know, which is not fully really, doesn't have the fully rights at this time. I feel kind of, you know, this developer, I mean, he will try to skim any dollars more than what really perhaps we will pay, you know, because that's what he wants, you know. To me, that's his strategy, you know, that's my biggest problem that I have, you know. Like I said, to me, I mean, I'm fully support to get that site, but just the idea, we want to have this man here, that he will be benefited in a great fashion, that will really hurt some of the money which is gonna come out from the taxpayers, you know. That's one of my biggest concern, really. That's why I believe we should be very cautious about that, you know, really.
Mr. Chair, if I
Because
could.
this man, he wants the most. I know that's what he wants.
So the county currently owns the Teledyne site, is under agreement to sell it to actually the person who owns the property just east of that site on Burnham Street. So the developer there, Jeff Hall is his name, is under contract to buy the Teledyne site. And the owner to the southern property is Mr. Coakley. Both these individuals are very experienced and seasoned real estate developers, which is both a positive and a negative. It's a positive in that they're reasonable people, and they understand the value of you know, selling a property like this to the city and being a good neighbor. They understand the value of working with the city to have the long-term benefits for the city. They're taxpayers in the city themselves, so they're going to be interested in this. The net downside is the city won't get a deal from them. We're not going to be able to convince them to, you know, that there's something wrong with their parcel and they have to sell it to us for a cheap price. So that's the downside. But what it does mean is that I do believe that they will both be fair with the city. They'll try to maximize their outcome, that's no doubt. But we'll have a buyer's agent that will try to maximize the city's outcome. And usually when those two things happen, you can come to a reasonable price. And no matter what happens, the council would be presented ultimately with the exact numbers that those two properties would be acquired for, and the council would make the decision at that time whether to move forward. No matter what happens, that's always going to be the council's last, their last call on that.
You know, the facts it is that the county, I mean, before this developer came forward, but the county really, they were kind of, you know, called stingers, you know. That's what I think, in all fairness.
Alderman Stefanski.
Just out of curiosity, when will we be able to have some numbers to calculate what it's gonna cost for taxpayers?
So there'd be two phases to this. One would be the acquisition cost, and then second would be the construction and engineering and architecture cost. The idea is we'll probably know the acquisition cost for the land first, and then if the council is interested in doing so, we would approve that with the contingency or some sort of, it would be a contingency to the agreement that would say subject to final approval by the council from an architectural plan, which would then lay out the full budget.
So it wouldn't be this year technically, correct? This next budget year? The reason I'm asking is because hearing the school board's coming up with this ridiculous $29 million referendum that they're gonna put forward. It's gonna be a concern.
I don't know exactly when the financing would kick in. I don't know if, Jason, if you have an idea. If the idea would be, best case scenario, we could get this under contract this year yet, which would then allow us to explore the architectural drawings and engineering, and then get an estimate as to what the actual price of the construction would be. I don't know if we'd have enough time to actually bid it out, but we'd at least go into it with a good estimate from a consultant at that point in time. So I don't know if that's the case and we start, if this is approved early next year, what would the financing look like?
We'd probably do a couple financings.
just because there's a time limit to how early you can borrow tax exempt funds. So we can turn around borrowing relatively quickly, probably within 90 days. But once we know the acquisition costs, then we would go out for funds. And then once we have a good solid construction figure, then we would bond for that. So it wouldn't happen all at once. It would happen in a couple stages.
So I guess to answer the question, next year would be probably the earliest that the real estate acquisition bonding would show up, which would then be on the subsequent tax year's bill. And then, depending on how fast things move, you may or may not be able to still do the second part of that bonding that year, but it might be actually the following year, because it will probably take a long time to develop the site fully to make sure that we've maximized efficiency. So my guess is you'd be, 20% of it would be next year and 80% of it would be the following year. It would be just a rough estimate as far as cost.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Alderwoman King.
So that would eliminate the Morgan Avenue site?
Potentially with the amount of acreage that is proposed here, it's near, I believe, 20 acres. So that, the storage items that are out there, yes.
That would be the
Pretty
goal.
confident that we can store the yard waste, the brush, those type of materials here on this.
And then dependent on that, we can, soil and whatnot, we could potentially sell it to have on the tax base. With selling that property, doing this, what does that impact then to the taxpayers if we were to put that back on? Does that help to lower anything? Does it?
Depending on the payoff for the bonding, I don't know how it would impact the actual bond, but whatever money would come in would be able to supplement other expenses, I'm sure. So it would go to general fund, I'm assuming, on the sale of real estate like that. So it would be able to be used for other expenses, lowering the costs, at least at that point in time, or allowing other, projects to move forward that have been delayed for a long time. So the way I'd say it is, for those 20 years of bonding, that amount would likely be on the tax roll. It would be attributed to this project. But that sale would be a one-time infusion of cash for the taxpayers that woed help, and it could be used in a number of different ways.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Yeah.
All right, good evening, everybody. We are going to call the Common Council meeting to order this evening. I will ask our clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Weigel.
Here.
Grisham. Here. Haas.
Here.
Keen. Here. Lysick.
Here.
Ranky. Here. Rote.
Here.
Stefanski.
Here.
Tenorio.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
10 present.
We have a quorum. Please rise if you are able and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will be led this evening by Alderman Weigel.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item D on our agenda would be public hearings, but we have none this evening, so we will go right to item E on our agendas, which is citizen participation. This is the chance for the council to receive information from members of the public during this 30-minute period. We ask that each speaker announce their name and address for our official record, and we ask that you keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
Attorney Timothy J. Andringa, that's Andringa, 1601 East Racine Avenue, Waukesha. And I am here on item 13 of the agenda for the resolution for the application for a special use permit involving Paulie's Pub. And I'll be here for the Safety and Development Committee, and I'll be here as well for the Common Council meeting, answer any questions and provide any information that may be helpful with respect to that matter. And I just want to introduce myself. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Anybody else wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, hearing none, we will close citizen participation, and we will move to item F. Our standing committees will be meeting during recess this evening. The room numbers are listed on page 1 of your agendas. Item G is the mayor's report. I have 2 quick things this evening. One is that September 15th through October 15th is National Hispanic Heritage Month, which I have proclaimed in the city of West Allis. Take this time to recognize and celebrate the many contributions, diverse cultures, and extensive histories of the Hispanic communities that have enriched and shaped our culture in our community. And this is always an interesting one because it goes through half of September and half of October, and that is because during that time, several Latin American countries have their Independence Days, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Mexico, Chile, and Belize all celebrate their independence during this period. So I just wanted to mention that this evening. And the other thing I want to mention is on Saturday the 25th, our Public Works Department is going to be holding an open house at the Public Works Yards on McGeough. They are going to have their vehicles out. They are going to have food trucks. They are going to have popsicles from Pete's Pops. So if you have children that love big trucks and snowplows and dump trucks, this is a great opportunity to get up close and personal. It is again on Saturday, the 25th of September from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. That does conclude the mayor's report. Oh, I got one more thing. I'm sorry. Last week in the 5th District, Alderpersons Ranky and Haas and I welcomed a new business to the community behind Culver's, next to Aldi. There is a new Renew Sports and Fitness Supply. It is a new and used sporting goods store, similar to like a Play It Again Sports. They have everything from frisbee golf to hockey to skiing to baseball, volleyball. They had quite a plethora of items, and we had a ribbon cutting ceremony for them to welcome them to our community. Again, that's on Highway 100 behind Culver's. Now that officially concludes the mayor's report. Do we have any reports from the alderpersons this evening?
Mayor Devine.
Alderperson Grisham.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention a couple other open houses that actually were past events. I went to the West Allis PD open house over the weekend. It was very well attended. Great presentation from our first responders, and I also attended the Senior Center, had their open house. And I just want to echo what Mayor Devine had stated, that if you are out and about and these open houses are happening, please feel free to stop by.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons' reports this evening?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel.
Couple things coming up in the city in the next week or two. This weekend at Wisconsin State Fair Park is the, I believe, 28th Annual Harvest Fair on the State Fair Park grounds. It's a family-fun event. I think the scarecrow making thing is very fun for all the kids and everybody. It's free and open to the public. Also coming up in the downtown on Sunday, October 3rd, is our annual Classic Car Show. That's where we close off the streets. Greenfield Avenue is closed from 70th to 76th Street. There's classic cars lining both sides of the street and going back into the parking lots in the back. That's 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I believe there's some sort of football game right after that. I'm not sure on Sunday. But that also is free and open to the public, and everybody's invited. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the September 7th and 15th, 2021 Common Council meetings.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Vitale. Are there any changes or amendments to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, the minutes are approved. Item J, we have no standing committee reports this evening, so we will go to item K, our consent agenda.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
if there's no objection from members of the council, I would move for approval of the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any objection? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is approved.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in recess.
here. We will start with item 10, a resolution to approve bid of Cudahy Roofing and Supply Incorporated for the installation of modified bituminous roof replacement and related work at the West Allis Department of Public Works located at 6300 McGill Avenue in the amount of $63,550.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? And Ms. Tracy, Alderman Savansky.
Just real quick, is that the lowest bid that we got?
Yeah, I got 3 bids, and that was the best.
Okay.
They are all saying, all the bidders said they were going to have trouble getting materials, so I don't know how quickly if they can do it before winter or not.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, resolution relative to accepting the proposal of Crowley Construction Corporation to install railroad crossing pavement marking for an amount not to exceed $15,000 and approving a 2021 Engineering Department Fund transfer and amending the 2021 Capital Improvement Program. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. This is for 68th Street?
Well, for all 4 crossings, Greenfield,
Oh, okay.
Electric, 68th, and
Okay.
I'm forgetting one.
I'm sure there's a lot of
Alderman
people-
Stransky.
So,
People are happy about it.
so we're having to pay for part of this?
Yeah, the railroad commissioner agreed with us that those crossings are in horrible shape, and that 68th Street one's going to be done by October 15th first. But then he said, but you have substandard pavement marking, so, I'm gonna, what's goose for the, that phrase. So if I make them do that, I gotta make you bring them up to safety standards. So I didn't see that coming, but we have to paint and put some signage up. Public Works is gonna put some signage up too. But because of the tight deadline, and it's a lot of specialized stuff with stencils, with the railroad crossing, and so we're going to hire that out, and I have some funds I can transfer to do that.
Do you know when they're going to start on the 68th one?
Gotta have to be soon, because they got to be done by October 15th, unless they're going
On
to.
just that one or all 4 of them?
Just that one. They have to completely reconstruct 68th Street, brand spanking new, and then the other 3, they have to make immediate repairs before October. Probably going to just throw some asphalt in the holes. Then next year, they're going to do 2 more, Greenfield and Electric. And then since we're doing Beloit Road anyway in 2023, they're going to just do that one when we do Beloit. So there'll be 2 more.
On the one on
68th,
68th, because that is
Yeah.
terrible.
Railroad's gonna fulfill their obligation.
Well, I said at the beginning of this, they weaseled out of it last time. I mean, we've been harping on this for 7 years, so.
That's what I mean.
And they'll come in and do a few minor things, but, I hope so. I hope so. I think.
Pretty positive about the 68th one, though?
I think so, yeah. They sounded like they were gonna comply, but I don't know if they're slimy.
All right, they're given a date to comply?
Yeah, October 15th, which is coming up fast. October 15th of this year, they gotta finish 68th Street.
They gotta finish by October 15th?
The one.
What kind of, I'm sorry, I was.
That's okay. I was just talking
Alderman
over
Grisham, go ahead, please.
I thought I'd ask. Maybe a silly question, but these safety markings, is that something typically that a city picks up?
Yes,
other
yes,
than
yes,
the
yeah,
railroad?
yeah, they don't.
So
They
there'd be
don't
no
do
way to
that.
say, okay, you're gonna
No.
reimburse us on cost or anything
No.
like that? Okay, all right.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
been,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
first about Beloit Road, so you're gonna be coinciding when we do Beloit Road just as
Yes,
well?
yes,
See, I think
yeah.
it's-
They're gonna make some immediate repairs
Yeah.
before this, in 1 month.
Yes.
They're gonna put some asphalt in and
Sure.
keep it passable until
Yes.
2023.
Until, yes,
But then they'll come in and completely replace it
Sure.
in 2023.
great.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Wow, what's that ribbon cutting like for a railroad crossing? Is it?
You stand on the tracks and do it?
Yeah. Tied to the tracks. Item 12, resolution authorizing the city engineer to amend an existing professional services contract with R.A. Smith Incorporated to provide traffic engineering services for the City of West Dallas Engineering Department for an amount not to exceed $14,475.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Adjourn.
All right, we have a big
All those in
agenda.
hang on. All those in
All in
favor?
favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Man, we're so good, you know.
No, we're not.
Now we can go into the license and health committee. I believe we just had one item. So is item 15, so new class, first I should say, we're all present, you know. We don't need no members count, you know, we don't need that.
I'm not getting what you're saying.
I'm
sorry.
So we're all here.
Right, okay,
Oh, yeah.
I got it, okay.
I'm just kidding.
So, right.
So item 15, new class B tavern license and public entertainment permit for MB Dining LLC DBA, the Reunion 6610 West Clifford Avenue, West Dallas, Wisconsin, 53214, agent Christopher Paul. Paul, I think everybody kind of agree with you, you know, I think everybody's gonna, you have any questions about?
Well, would the agent like to come forward and just kind of tell us about it?
Yeah, this was one that was approved last year. Just our timeline
Yes.
exceeded because of everything this year.
It sounded familiar.
So this was one that we had to exceed quota last year for. And it's just, this just year's been crazy. So we're
Gentleman that runs the.
Capri,
Yeah.
and we're opening Reunion. So it's we're close. Our mission is to do the soft opening in October. So in the next 4 or 5 weeks, we should be doing the soft opening, and then from there we're going to run, assuming we get employees and staff. But we're doing good. So yeah, it's just a matter of that we just somehow extended that time, or I think there was a threshold on that original approval, so we just had to come back and do it again. So.
Thank you for refreshing
Yep,
my
absolutely.
memory with that. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Looks like a nice building.
It's going to be a lot
for the
of
new
really
railroad
nice. It's
crossing,
coming
eh?
together really.
Yeah, it looks like, you know.
Right?
Right. Very good.
Thank you again.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we're on
Anything
track.
else?
Item
Motion to adjourn?
Item
To
16.
adjourn.
Now
Motion
we
to
have
place on
item
file.
16.
Yes,
Motion to place on file.
Apologize.
That's okay.
okay.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, and that was just for the record, the August 2021 Police Department Tavern.
Correct.
violation
Place on file.
report.
Yep.
It's on file. So we
Do
have
we
a second?
discuss it though?
He did second.
Do we discuss it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
There was no discussion yet. That's
No discussion.
now.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
We don't
Rosalie.
discuss?
If you would like,
Yeah.
sure.
If you
you want.
wanna just,
Um,
call the police
the
report.
spot, we're basically calling them in, are
Yep.
we not?
Yes,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have.
Yes,
Well,
that
Yes.
is set for next month.
Right.
So.
The fourth.
Right, but I
So
believe,
we'll have to clarify
Six.
that.
I believe for the
6
spot
p.m.
was everything from behind the summons complaint. We can't go on anything that happened on the police reports
Correct.
Correct.
for the,
So we can't discuss it.
No,
No.
no,
But I
no.
just wanted to clarify that. we were-
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
that,
okay.
So there was
that
a,
time will be
Oh,
part of it,
let's see.
would be included with October 4th.
There
License
was
and health
one
committee
though,
meetings in October.
basically where the bartender didn't have a license. That was the Alibi Bar. What do we do then when the person doesn't have a license?
call in the owner, usually.
The owner gets a fine, correct?
Yeah, I don't know what the amount is. I don't have that.
as well.
Yeah, I don't have that either, Rosalie. So,
This one.
We have the whole, yeah, you didn't check that
Yes.
on the report, yeah,
Right.
it's there. So I believe it would
Yeah, I didn't-
be stated right in there on further
Yeah.
documentation that they were cited for that.
yeah,
They were cited because she didn't have a license.
She didn't have a
So that's
license.
what I
Yeah, and
wanted
that
to
would be
find
the,
out.
that would be the standard.
the last license and other thing we,
Yes,
was
and if
brought up.
Attorney Serwin would hear, he'd flag anything that
Yeah,
would
well, of course,
remotely
yeah.
look like we should.
Okay, so thank you, Mr.
so any
Chair.
other question coming from the
So,
license?
so we're calling in the alibis, what you want, are trying
No.
to say? Oh, we're
No.
not? Oh, okay.
No.
Oh,
No, he paid the, so he'll be fine. So any more questions? I need to,
So there was a motion?
And a second.
all in favor of the
Aye.
motion?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, second, all in favor? of the
Aye.
motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
We are adjourned.
You guys are so
All right,
good.
now we're on to
Yeah, I can't
advisory.
Oh, yes, I almost got out of here because I
Can't believe
didn't
this.
Let the minutes reflect that all 5 members are present.
Oh, my goodness, Rosa, you got a big agenda tonight.
Oh, more than you even.
Oh, my
Okay,
goodness.
number 17, the appointment of Kim Abduli as a member of the Fair Housing Board. I basically miss information on these appointees. This is a new appointee, and I think the committee should have a background of that person. So I will talk to the mayor regarding this. I tried to access the file, but it still didn't give any information regarding it. And how can you vote basically on a person when you don't know their background? Other than, of course, the mayor makes fine appointments. However, I for one would like to know what this person is about. But anyway, okay.
Madam Chair,
Madam Chair, go ahead.
would you like to postpone this until next meeting, next month?
We could hold it, yeah.
Yeah, hold
Well,
it,
he's the
so.
only appointment.
Or who can have the mayors, we can call them, and,
Well,
I mean, that's up to you guys, it's
If
up
I
to the-
may,
Oh, yes, you may.
I believe, I agree with
Do-
you.
I mean,
I
do you
believe,
all
I
feel
agree with
the
her
same
too,
way?
I'd like some information on the person, yeah.
if I may, I'm sorry.
You have the floor.
I do agree that it would be beneficial for us, especially that we're not doing a blind vote. I trust Mayor Devine's appointments.
Exactly.
However, it would be nice that we are able to at least acknowledge those who are volunteering for these positions.
Oh, here he is.
And as.
There
we
he is.
see-
Hey, I was
Watching.
So,
But
thank
there
you.
was a bow tie I got from home. I'm just
What's the
So,
question? I'm sorry.
Indicated to the committee basically that I missed the information on these people that you appoint. Is there some way that we can get that ahead of time before the vote? Because we do have one appointment.
I thought that was attached to the agendas. And I know they went to
Not any
simplify.
longer.
Okay, I know that they went to simplify it a couple months ago. And
Right.
there probably been a lot of appointments, reappointments rather, as opposed to appointments.
Reappointments I'm not as concerned about
Yeah.
because obviously we had okayed them in the past. But new appointments,
Yeah.
we have a new appointment of Kim Abduli.
She is in, I can give you a little background on her
I
if you
would
want.
think that's
Yeah,
what
I met her actually at the grand opening at Chef Paz about 8 years ago.
Okay.
She owns an immigration law firm right there on National Avenue and about 89th maybe, kind of by
Beecher and National.
4th and Long, Beecher National, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so she's a lawyer, and she had sent in an application, and she had Fair Housing Board as one of her interested committees. So I had an opening, and I talked to Mel up in housing, and told her that this is an attorney who has some experience in here that might actually be able to help. In Mel's opinion, might be able to help us kind of improve our process and improve that Fair Housing Committee and bring a kind of a fresh set of eyes to it. So that's,
I appreciate that you
yeah,
brought up some
Sure.
update
I
anyway.
believe it's a good candidate, so.
I know that you always choose good candidates.
most of them.
And the committee agrees with me.
Most of
that We'd like to know a little bit about the candidate.
Oh, yeah, I will check on the process, because I
Okay.
thought that there was still attachment on maybe on the electronic agenda.
I just looked through the packet and there was nothing in there.
Right,
No,
exactly.
we haven't
Okay.
for
I
a
looked
long
for-
while.
So they're really simplifying it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, very so.
Name,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it would be nice if I may, just even acknowledge that these people that are appointed are volunteers, and
Sure.
we show our gratitude for their work in the community.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I can get more information if you want. I mean,
No, this is fine.
That's
That was
This
good.
is fine.
Then we can vote on, Madam Chair.
Motion to approve.
All right.
Been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Obviously. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, we are on 18, reappointment of Alyssa Olmsted as a member of the Community Development Block Grant Committee.
Move to approve.
Second.
Then moved and seconded. Discussion regarding Alyssa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Then we have number 19, reappointment of Adam Hinkle as a West Dallas, West Milwaukee School District designee to the Library Board.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion about Adam? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Carried.
Second.
Man, you guys so
All those in
expeditiously.
favor?
Aye.
Hi, Dan, you're so good.
Opposed? Carried.
Hey, Dan, I didn't say that you were in appointments here.
Now you can get to your, now you can get to your meeting.
Good evening. We're going to call the Common Council back to order. I will ask the clerk to take another roll call.
Alderperson Weigel.
Here.
Grisham.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Keen.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
Ranky.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
Stefanski.
Here.
Tenorio.
Here.
Vitale.
Aye, here.
10 present.
Quorum is present. We will move on to new and previous matters. The Administration and Finance Committee is chaired by Alderman Haas. I will ask the clerk to read out that report.
The Administration and Finance Committee recommended adoption of items number 7 and 8.
I move for approval of the committee report.
Thank you, Alderman Haas. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Hi, aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. The next up is Alderman Rote's Public Works Committee. I will ask the clerk to read out that report.
The Public Works Committee recommended adoption of items 10, 11, and 12.
I move in accordance of the committee report, Mayor Devine.
Thank you, Alderman Rote. Any discussion on the Public Works Committee? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to take the roll.
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next, we'll go to Safety and Development Committee, chaired by Alderman Lysick, and I will ask our clerk to read out that report.
The Safety and Development Committee recommended adoption of item number 14, subject to approval by the city attorney.
I move for adoption of the committee report.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
We're not addressing 13's. We didn't handle.
Okay, on item 14, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
No.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
9 in favor, 1 opposed.
Motion carries. And next up, we have the License and Health Committee. I'll ask the clerk to read out that report.
The License and Health Committee recommended granting item number 15 and placing on file item number 16.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval based on the License and Health Committee report.
Thank you, Alderman Vitale. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. And next up is the Advisory Committee. I will ask the clerk to read that out.
The Advisory Committee recommended approval of items 17, 18, and 19.
Alderperson Ranky?
I move approval of the committee report.
Thank
Mayor
you.
Devine.
Thank you. Any discussion on the Advisory Committee reports? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to take the roll.
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine?
Yes.
Can I ask for something real quick? I'm sorry, I was reading something on the agenda wrong, and I voted incorrectly on 14. I wanted to vote no. Can I change that now, or do I need to change it next week?
Motion to reconsider?
I think you can just change it.
Yeah,
But I'll
we've
defer to
done
our
it
attorney.
before. With the consent of the council, if everybody,
Yeah, so I would say with the consent of the council, it changed it sounds like it wouldn't change the ultimate vote,
No,
and so
it
therefore it
wouldn't.
wouldn't be impactful, so
Correct.
as long as the council
Yeah, should be
consents.
fine.
So
Is there any objection?
No objection.
no objection.
All right,
Objection.
then
Thank you.
that will be done. 8-2 instead of 9-1.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting, Tuesday, October 5th at 7 p.m.
Second.
Here's a motion with a second by Alderperson Ranky. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.